All right, so this is kind of something I want to do. I want to do something more like a college-educated course where I'm giving a lecture, but I'm reading directly from the book. I'm just like a professor reading directly from a textbook. So, I want to give this away for free, obviously, where I do kind of like an audiobook version of Paul Scheele's great book, PhotoReading, 4th edition by Paul R. Scheele. Really good book, by the way. I've had this book for a while. I didn't really actually finish it, but I know enough about photo reading to where it's helped. But I was actually going to finish the book, and I might even finish it by reading it to all you guys. No, but I do have a lot of different experience doing certain photo reading techniques. But I figured we can learn this together. I could be your professor, and I'm going to be an inappropriate professor at Lefebvre University. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So number one, I guess you could call it chapter 1, the origins of photo reading. Photo reading at 25,000 words a minute means you could mentally photograph this book in fewer than 3 minutes. Although this may sound like a radical new idea, the concept existed at least hundreds of years before I coined the term photo reading. You can find evidence that such mental processing is possible and has been used in diverse settings, from military training and martial arts to ancient religious traditions. Ooh. The challenge is not in deciding whether photo reading is possible. The challenge is how to teach you, as an individual reading this book, to effectively transfer the natural ability into daily applications for reports, journals, and newspapers, books, web pages, and whatever you want to read. My background in neuro-linguistic programming and accelerative learning gave me a way to meet that challenge. The photo reading whole mind system has been learned by others around the world, and now the time is right for you to learn it too. The story that follows explains how it all started. 7 years after graduating with a science degree from the University of Minnesota, I took a speed reading test. I scored 170 words a minute at 70% comprehension. I was embarrassed when I realized my 16 plus years in public schools left me below average in reading skills and an expert at putting off reading. I thought that to read properly, I must start on the first word of the text and slog through to the end. I must concentrate on seeing all the words correctly, make sense of them as I went along, and remember what they said. I also believe the ultimate measure of my reading effectiveness was total recall and critical analysis of meaning. I did not question my definition of reading. I felt stuck at slow speeds. I knew that the faster I read, the worse my comprehension became. Ooh. After 7 years of professional life as a human resource development consultant, I had made no improvement in my reading skills. In 1984, the logical solution meant enrolling in a speed reading course. After 5 weeks of training, my speed reading scores averaged 5,000 words a minute at 70% comprehension. During one of the class sessions, a young woman sitting next to me lamented being stuck at 1,300 words a minute through 10 weeks of classes. I suggested to her, imagine what it would be like if you could break through to higher speeds now. On her next book, her speed reading reached over 6,000 words a minute, with higher comprehension test scores than ever before. As great as that sounds, speed reading did not appeal to me. Pushing my eyeballs down the page soon became unrewarding drudgery. 3 months after leaving the course, I rarely used the techniques but remained intrigued about the mind's potential for processing written words. I began realizing my problem. I felt trapped between two opposing belief systems. One belief came from the elementary education model of reading. An opposing belief came from knowing that the human mind can achieve far more magnificent results far more magnificent results. The same trapped and confusing feeling. Sorry, where am I at? Trapped and confusing feeling grabbed me once during private pilot's training. I remember when my instructor took me up to 8,000 feet and told me to fly at a minimum airspeed, just as I would when landing. To do so, I slowed down the engine and pulled back on the control yoke to maintain my altitude. Soon, the nose of my plane pointed almost straight up. The wind flowing over my wings no longer created enough lift to hold up the airplane. It could not fly, so it dropped out of the sky like a rock, diving straight down towards the ground. Terrified, I immediately began pulling back on the control yoke, trying desperately to get the nose up and fly the plane. This made things much worse. My instructor seemed to enjoy watching my panic. Why wasn't it working? Why wouldn't the plane fly? Diving toward the ground at an accelerated rate, my instructor calmly said, "Push forward." I knew he did not have a clue about our problem. While I tried to lift the plane up by the control yoke, he was telling me to dive deeper into the ground. Clearly, he had lost his mind. I love this. Good story. This is actually a good story, though. The plane entered a tailspin, and the earth became a spinning blur, rushing toward us. Every part of me resisted his command as he insisted more firmly, "Push into the spin." Finally, my instructor broke my white-knuckle grip and pushed the control yoke forward. This push immediately smoothed out the wings and elevator section of the tail, which corrected the airflow over them and generated lift. The plane stabilized, and slowly he pulled back the control yoke to regain altitude, leaving my heart in my throat. Wow. What connection does this have to reading? Throughout my life, I read only as fast as I could comprehend the words on the page. Every time I went too fast to comprehend, I grabbed control and pulled back as a fear reaction. I was afraid I would fail as a reader if I did not understand everything. My attempted strategies to read better and faster only made things worse. I was caught in the spin, and reading felt like nosediving my airplane into the ground. Have you ever wished for a mentor to come along and pull you out of a nosedive? I did. Unfortunately, I did not realize a larger, more powerful capacity of mind could solve my reading problem. Fortunately, miracles happen. Several events in the next few years shaped a new direction for me. In the fall of 1984, I entered graduate school to study adult learning and human development technologies. I wanted to know how people learn most effectively. My company, Learning Strategies Corporation, was over 3 years old, with many clients who could benefit from my studies. I was also strongly motivated to improve my own skills as a learner. While attending different seminars and courses, I heard about an instructor from a speed reading school in Phoenix, Arizona. The instructor had suggested a bizarre experiment to one of his classes after flipping pages upside down and backwards to learn eye fixation. Patterns he instructed the students to take a comprehension test on the book, just for the fun of it. Their scores turned out to be the highest in the class ever achieved. Was it a fluke? The instructors at the school hypothesized that maybe they were turning the page into a stimulus that is processed subliminally. About the same time I heard that hypnosis, I attended a workshop with Peter Klein, an expert in accelerative learning. When I told him about my interest in researching breakthroughs in reading, he offered me a challenge. A client of his, IDS American Express, wanted a speed reading application of accelerative learning. Suddenly, the consulting job, my master's degree work, and my passion for learning landed in one nice package on my lap. In the fall of 1985, I began background research into studies of subliminal perception. The pre-conscious processing. Significant research evidence suggested humans possess a pre-conscious processor. Sorry, a preconscious processor of the mind that can absorb visual information without involving the conscious mind. I experimented with using the eyes and the preconscious processor in special ways on written materials. I dubbed this concept mentally photographing the printed page photo reading. I devoted my full time to designing a seminar based upon the accelerative learning model. Expert strategies of rapid reading, the human development technology of neuro-linguistic programming, and studies on preconscious processing. Soon the photo reading seminar was born. One of my experiments involved returning to the speed reading school I had attended. I asked the teacher for several books and tests. After photo reading one of the books at 68,000 words a minute, I demonstrated 74% comprehension on the same type of written test I had used a few years earlier. Just a side note, that's incredible. That's so incredible. Too good to be true. Compared to reading or speed reading, it was too good to be true. Photo reading, however, was neither. Something powerful was happening, and school confirmed the results. In January and February of 1986, I taught the first 6 experimental seminars, 1 to IDS and 5 to clients of my company. Participants stood up during class to describe many immediate payoffs, including reduced stress, startling improvements in memory, fluid reading skills, top grades on school tests, increased wins for salespeople and trial attorneys, and more. Inspired by the participants' experiment, I worked on refining the curriculum design and teaching materials with my business associates. On May 16th, 1986, the Minnesota Department of Education licensed Learning Strategies Corporation as a private vocational school after reviewing the photo reading seminar curriculum and our business practices. When the President of the United States of America declared the 1990s as the decade of the brain, he invited an explosion of new research in cognitive science. The resulting breakthroughs in our understanding of how the brain processes information have offered unprecedented support for the pursuit of new approaches to learning. Photo reading has earned international recognition for its innovations to education. Instructors specially trained and certified by Learning Strategies Corporation continually upgrade photo reading into a life-transforming human development experience that incorporates the latest in brain research to help achieve success. It is offered worldwide through live seminars and self-study course, and is supported via with telephone and online coaching. Photo reading helps you acquire new skills to increase reading efficiency. As most photo readers admit, however, photo reading transforms more than reading skills. The photo reading whole mind system directs you to push into the spin and discover the natural genius residing within you. This means you fly smoothly through information instead of spinning out of control. This book will help deliver the system to you in clear step-by-step instructions. Okay, so I'm going to end it there. I'm going to end it right there. I have a specific bookmark for this because I'm kind of rereading this. I never went to the end of this book. And so I have 2 bookmarks. One where I'm reading this to you, and then one where I'm reading this to myself. Either way, that's an introduction to photo reading. It's really an incredible science. I learned most of the stuff about photo reading through YouTube videos, so I never really decided to finish the rest of the book, though. I wouldn't say I'm that great of a photo reader, to be honest. I'm okay at it. I have the ability to, skim through the pages, photographic, yes, with my mind, and I do have the ability, and I do have the confidence in it. But I guess you could say I do read somewhat fast. So even if I don't photo read specifically, I kind of prefer to just take my time with reading, especially with complex material. But I do think if I did a little more photo reading, did more previewing of a book, I think it would help out quite a bit. I think previewing a book beforehand, just kind of skimming through the pages, just seeing what you can find, keywords, things like that. I think it's a really good idea. But yeah, I do want to do more on photo reading though, and I do kind of want to make a complete audio book in a weird way through YouTube, of course, through multiple parts. So that'll be fascinating. Outside of it, though, I really hope this is educational for you guys. I hope I've inspired you to get into photo reading. Photo reading, there are certain techniques like the tangerine technique. Still my favorite to this day. I use it when my eyes get tired and I'm feeling a little leggish, a little sluggish. Keeps my focus up, and it makes it to where I can continue to look at what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to, whatever I'm trying to problem solve, I can kind of, engage a lot better. But it's really exciting. I hope I've inspired you guys to get into photo reading, because it really does kind of help in certain situations when you're trying to get a lot of information in one setting. I don't always need to use the techniques, because like I said, I like to take my time with my reading. So it's half and half. Well, I wouldn't even say half and half. It's like, maybe I should do photo reading more often, but I do want to re-encourage myself to kind of start taking it up again, because I never fully immersed myself in the world of photo reading. I was always a dabbler in photo reading, but I think if I stopped dabbling and actually really got into it, I think I'd turn into a fucking pro. Anyway, thank you guys for taking the time to view this, and have an incredible rest of the day. Later, folks.